Hello, hello. It is a nice cold day out today. It's been a while since I've been on camera, so I figured I'd go through a little bit, kind of explain how the end of the season went a little bit of 2022, show some of the damages to some of the parts that are in the engine bay. So I had kind of a struggle this year, first year turboing the car. You know, did all the build myself. I have it all tore apart right now. I took a eBay manifold, flipped the flange, kind of Frankensteined it together, and as you can kind of see, it's in really bad condition. It cracked, warped, welded, re-welded many times, braced it. It's seen better days, so I have a new manifold to replace that. Turbo number 1 from the year is in this bag here. I cooked the journal bearings and it just fried the whole turbo. And then here's the internals of turbo number 2, kind of did the same thing. That's the input shaft and everything with the propeller or impeller blades from turbo number 1. Not as bad condition as number 2. That one completely disintegrated inside the turbo, just running it way too hot. Starving it with, you know, cooking the oil, just bad deal. It turned out really bad. A cheap turbo, and I got 4 or 5 events of just beating the crap out of it. You know, there's the center cartridge there. It's pretty cooked. So yeah, basically I'm replacing the whole setup. I got a different turbo for it, and I'll do a quick little unboxing of that. Here's some of the intercooler piping. You know, it's all in pieces right now. Possibly had a blow-off valve stick, and maybe that's why the second turbo failed. It busted the nut right off the compressor wheel. So I'll be investing in something a little bit better, maybe a little bigger. I think I was producing a little too much boost for this little blow-off for it, so we'll see. You know, I'll do a little more research and maybe switch some things around. So I'll take the parts inside. It's a little chilly. I'll do the unboxing inside and get you guys updated here. Okay, we're back inside where it's nice and warm. I don't have to worry about freezing my fingers off. So I went over a couple of different options. Did some research on different manifolds. I could have went with the same cheap $100 eBay manifold, 14 gauge stainless steel tubing. If you're not sure what gauges are what, 14 gauges is approximately 1/16 of an inch. So a 1/16 inch wall on an 1.5 inch tube, tubular manifold. For like normal street driving, probably would be fine. Not as much vibration. On a racetrack, you got a lot of vibration up and down in temperature. It didn't hold up as well as I would have hoped. There's a couple of different manifolds, like a CX Racing manifold. There's an ISR manifold. There's a Kraken manifold. There's probably a few others out there. Those are the main 3 that I kind of looked at. Did the most research into. The ISR manifold and the CX Racing manifold are both 11 gauge stainless steel, which is about 1/8 of an inch, 1.5 inch tubing, which would probably hold up quite a bit better than the eBay manifold that I was using. But I wanted to go a little bit better long term than that. There are some, you know, cheaper log style cast manifolds that they just don't flow very good. So I wanted something high flow, lightweight, compact, and cast. So I went with the Kraken manifold. So they have a top mount and a bottom mount manifold. I like the idea of being a bottom mount. It's all kind of hidden underneath, but I also like the top mount version better. It's easier to service when you're at the track. This is, you know, tubular style runners, so it's going to flow better, produce a little bit more horsepower without really straining the engine too much, I hope. It's a T25 flange, so last year I ran a T3 turbo and T3 manifold. You can get a little bit bigger turbo size with that, but with a 1.8 liter Miata engine, you don't really need a big turbo, it's already snappy. You just want response. So a smaller turbo is going to be better. So a T25 flange is more than enough for what I'm trying to do, especially with a high flow manifold. So yeah, this is a nice manifold, really well manufactured. I got it through Fab9 Tuning. I got this over Black Friday, so it took a little while to get it, but I think it's going to be well worth it in the long run. So that's it for the Kraken unboxing. It was already unboxed, but it makes it a little easier that way. Now we'll get into the turbo I chose. So for turbos, I did the same thing, researched a lot, looked into differences between journal bearing and ball bearing turbos. Last year I ran a T3 journal bearing turbo, 63 AR housing, ran around 10 to 12 PSI, ran really good, quite responsive for a journal bearing turbo, but it didn't have water jackets inside. It was only oil cooled, and it was external gate, so it added external weight off the turbo as well, which I don't want that. I want it all compact, so it's nice, tight in the engine bay. It looks really clean. So I looked into the ISR turbo kit, the CX Racing turbo kit, Garrett's, BorgWarner's. I was running the MA Performance journal bearing last year, and that I blew 2 of them. They didn't hold up as well as I would have hoped. They are quite a bit cheaper. I mean, you can get them for 150 to 160 bucks for a small turbo. You can beat the crap out of them and not have to worry about, if they blow up, because they're cheap. Obviously the more you wreck, the more expensive it gets. But if you're not doing the performance stuff that I'm trying to do, it's fine. Street performance with a journal bearing that's cheap, no problem, perfect. Anyways, I looked into some BorgWarners. I didn't want to spend that much. It's upwards of like $2,000 for a ball bearing, internal gate with water cooling. So I went a little bit cheaper. I went with a Garrett GT2860R, aka the Disco Potato. So it's got internal gate, a little bit smaller than what I had, a 60 AR intake side, and I believe a 64 AR on the rear. So, like I said, internal gate, don't have to worry about external components hanging off the turbo. It's all right there. Quite a bit smaller, like I said. I think it's probably 1.5 inches, 2 inches shorter this way than the other one. Circumference of both exhaust housing and intake housing are quite a bit smaller than the other turbo, but it has oil and water cooling, so I'm going to utilize that this year and hopefully maintain better exhaust gas temperatures. Oil temps will be a little lower, hopefully, and hopefully overall better response and long-term use out of a turbo. In the future, I'll document, installing it in the car. I gotta get some oil lines and stuff still, water lines, all figured out, and then I'll bring you guys along for the install of it. So with this new turbo and manifold setup, my goal is to have a reliable turbo kit that's not going to require a ton of maintenance or fixing things every event or at each event. That'll make myself more competitive, being that this year they're running Drifting the Plains on Saturday and a limited series on Sunday. So I'm going to be running both of those events. So instead of a 2-day weekend like I was doing last year, I'm actually going to be driving for 3 days per event weekend. So that's going to put a little more stress on the engine and on the turbo components. So having a reliable turbo is going to make a huge difference. Something else that I'm going to be doing this year, I'm going to be running Acceleras from Tighter Streets. I will be running in the Drifting the Plains series, the 651s, and then in the limited series, I will be running the PHI-Rs on the rear, and then I'll be running these on the fronts all season as well. So I'll be partnered with Tighter Streets and a part of their driver program, which is pretty cool. It's a good start to kind of help the drift plans go along. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next one.